الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. We are still commenting on and explaining Al-Khareeda Al-Bahiyya, which is one of the most famous poems in Aqidah, Al-Khareeda Al-Bahiyya by Sayyidi Ahmad Al-Dardir, Sheikh Ahmad al-Muhammad al-Adawi, who passed away in the year 1201, means 1201 years after the Hijrah, after the migration of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sheikh Ahmad, who is famous with Al-Dardir, rahimahullah ta'ala, Al-Azhari, Al-Maliki, radiyallahu anhu, in this poem summarizes and explains the main beliefs that a Muslim should have. What does he say, rahimahullah, in the beginning? We're still in the introduction. The introduction is 8 lines. We did 6 lines. We're going to finish the introduction, inshallah, quickly today. Then we're going to go to the main rules that every student of knowledge should know really well. You will see how important those topics are, and they will solve a lot of problems and questions that you might have and you might face. You will receive so many questions in your life. You might have some questions and some doubts, and you might be faced with some questions or doubts, or you might read them. The wrong way is that whenever you have a question or doubt, you go and ask someone, or you ask Google. The worst way to ask Google, okay, or YouTube, same thing. Now, Sheikh Google. Now, a good way, the worst way is to ask just to go to the virtual world, right? That's the worst way. A good way is to ask a trustworthy scholar or student of knowledge that you trust and that you know is a person who really applies and acts upon the religion. The best way is to study the foundations that will help you answer those questions. Okay? That is the best way. And this is very important in Aqidah, because the Aqidah questions will not end, and the doubts that people will bring will not end. As we move and as science advances and life and things, they will keep having questions. He says, rahimahullah ta'ala, يقول راجي رحمة القدير أي أحمد المشهور بالدردير الحمد لله العلي الواحد العالم الفرد الغني الماجد وأفضل الصلاة والتسليم على النبي المصطفى الكريم وآله وصحبه الأطهار لا سيما رفيقه في الغار وهذه عقيدة سنية سميتها الخريدة البهية لطيفة صغيرة في الحجم لكنها كبيرة في العلم تكفيك علما إن تريد أن تكتفي لأنها بزبدة الفن تفي والله أرجو في قبول العمل والنفع منها ثم غفر الزلل. So he said in line 6, this is Aqidah that is nice, that is light and small in size, but it is big in knowledge. It used to be taught in Al-Azhar and many of the big Islamic universities, and until now in most masajid, when they teach Aqidah, they teach this poem. And so many scholars explained it. Dozens of scholars and more explained it. And we're basically depending on the explanation of the author himself. And that should be the best explanation, because he tells you what he meant in every line. So line number 7, he says, تكفيك علما إن تريد أن تكتفي لأنها بزبدة الفن تفي. تكفيك علما. It suffices you in knowledge. If you only want to be sufficed. If you تكفيك علما إن تريد أن تكتفي. It gives you the enough knowledge that you need. إن تريد أن تكتفي. If you want to be sufficed, just to take what is enough for you. Why? لأنها, because it is لأنها بزبدة الفن تفي. Because it fulfills and includes the cream of this science. The cream of this science. The summary of this science or of this art. Al-fan, the word al-fan means art. Okay? The word fan means what? Art. But also this word is used for some of the sciences. Like they say فن البلاغة, eloquence. فن البلاغة. Even if you say فن التجويد, that could be also accepted. So fan also could mean what? Not only art, that's the literal meaning. Also fan could mean what? Science. Science means what? A group of information or an amount of information that is systematic and it has a method and it's related to one topic, one thing. So فن العقيدة, فن etc. etc. So لأنها بزبدة الفن تفي, because it includes and suffices you, because it includes the cream, the summary of this fan or of this science, the science of Aqidah. So one more time, تكفيك علما, the knowledge that you benefit from this poem, it's enough for you in your religion. If you want, and تكتفي, if you want to have only the sufficient minimum enough knowledge. If you want it to suffice you from the other elaborated works and the big works like Al-Jawhar. There are other poems that are hundreds of lines of poetry. So why this can be sufficient for you? Because it includes and fulfill the summary of this science. And it is the science of Aqa'id al-Iman, the belief or the faith, or the creed, or the doctrine, as we mentioned before. And it is also called the Ilm al-Tawheed, the science of Tawheed, because Tawheed is the main Aqidah, the main belief in Islam is what? Tawheed. Believing in the oneness of Allah, oneness in His essence, oneness in His actions, oneness in His attributes. Not as some people say, Tawheed al-Asma, Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, wa Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, wa Tawheed al-Asma wa-Sifat. That's not right. They say, oneness of lordship and oneness of godship and oneness of the names and attributes. That's not right. That division of Tawheed, which is an innovation that is not known before, and it has a lot of mistakes and issues and questions. So forget about it. Let alone the disastrous, violent consequences of using that division of Tawheed and making wrong conclusions out of it and applying it to Muslims and shedding their blood, starting from that division of these three sections of Tawheed. Tawheed is one. Knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as that He is one in His essence, one in His actions, one in His attributes. Not what the other people propagate. Also, it's called Ilm Usul. Another name for this science is what? The science of the foundations of the religion. Or Ilm Al-Aqa'id, the science of the doctrines. Or Ilm Al-Kalam. Ilm Al-Kalam. Because it's related to Sifatul Kalam, the attribute of speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because some Muslim groups in the past, they started arguing about the Quran and it's created and not created, and started to make fitna among the Muslims. So the people of Ahl Sunnah came to prove that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the Sifatul Kalam. So this science took the name of that Sifa because it was some of the main battles, if you like, about in this science was about that attribute of Allah. And Ahl Sunnah, of course, as we will see inshallah with the proofs from the Quran and from logic and reason, that Muslims, people of Ahl Sunnah, the mainstream Muslims, they believe Allah has the quality or the attribute of speech, and the Quran is part of His speech, just like the Torah, just like the Injil, not the Bible or the Torah, the Torah and the Injil, because the Bible and the Torah, they were changed. The Quran and the Torah and the Injil and the books of Ibrahim, etc., those are part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's speech. At the same time, we believe that Allah's speech is not sound and letters like the human speech. And we will talk more details about this later. So also Ilm Al-Kalam, because some scholars, they say it's Ilm Al-Kalam because they use some philosophical and logical proofs. And we will talk about this, inshallah, definitely, because now some young men, they come to me and they say, what do you think about Ilm Alkalaam? One guy asked me, and I know he's coming just to prove that I'm a deviant, to prove to me that I'm a deviant person. And he said, what do you think about Ilm Alkalaam? Because he read some Imam Ahmad or some Imams, they criticized Ilm Alkalaam, and he doesn't know anything. The scholars of Islam, learn this sentence. They saved the Aqeedah of Muslims by studying the sciences of those people, and so that they refuted their own doubts from their own side. Imam al-Ghazali, Hujjat al-Islam, the greatest Muslim philosopher and scholar, he studied philosophy, okay? Then he wrote a book, Tahafut al-Falasifa, the collapse of philosophers. How can he do that if he doesn't study it? At the same time, he wrote a book, it's called Iljam al-Awam an Ilm al-Kalam, stopping the lay people from studying Ilm al-Kalam, from studying that science. Why? Because it's not for lay people, that's for scholars. Those scholars, they're firm in their aqidah, firm in their belief. They study, they know they cannot be influenced by that because they have certainty and they have certain proofs. So they studied those proofs that other people have. They studied their philosophy, whatever, and then they got it, they purified it, they stripped it from any illogical things, from any things that are not acceptable, and they reshaped it and offered it to the Muslims so that they can use it to prove also as extra proofs to their aqidah, and to use it as tools to refute the attacks of those people against the Muslim aqidah. And this is why when Imam Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari radiyallahu anhu and Imam Abu al-Mansur al-Maturidi, you have to know these Imams because they are no less great than Imam Ahmad and Shafi'i, and those are in fiqh and those are in aqidah, these two. Because they did this, all of Ahl Sunnah in those early ages. These are in the Salaf time. In the 3rd Hijri century, they started. Imam al-Ash'ari and Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, what did they do? They established these proofs and put it within the Islamic frame, and all Muslims, the Muslim scholars in that time, they approved them and they followed them. And this is why you don't find any ancient scholar who's Hanafi except that he's Maturidi in his aqidah, or Shafi'i in his fiqh except that he's Ash'ari in his aqidah, or Maliki in his fiqh except that he's Ash'ari in his aqidah, or Hanbali except that he is Ash'ari or Maturidi in his aqidah, in their majority. And some little Hanbalis, they just followed another wrong way, not the way of Ahl al-Hadith, as some of these people propagate. No. The way of Ahl al-Hadith is the way of the Imam al-Ash'ari and Maturidi themselves. These are the two major schools in the Muslim theology, Imam al-Ash'ari and Imam al-Maturidi. What did they do? In addition to the proofs from Quran and Sunnah, they brought you proof from logic and reason and philosophy, so that you can defend any doubts from those people, any attacks, from using rules that are agreed upon by every human being, by every person with common sense, as we will see inshallah. And this is why now in the aqidah, reliable aqidah, Muslim aqidah books, for every matter they tell you, الدليل من العقل والدليل من النقل, or الدليل العقلي والدليل النقلي. The proof for this issue from the mind, from logic, from reason, and the proof from Al-Naql, the Quran and the Sunnah. They brought them together because there is no contradiction between them. And this is what you need. Guys, you need this more than anyone else. In this age, we need this more than anyone else. So someone who comes and maybe he doesn't know how to make wudu correctly, he comes and says, Ilm Alkalaam, this, come, senor, Come answer these questions from these young men. Answer their questions. Or you will tell them, خلاص, the Quran says this. The Quran says this, خلاص. Yalla, come to this atheist or agnostic or Christian, tell him, no, I believe this because the Quran says this. Well, he'll tell you, well, I don't believe the Quran. I don't believe the Quran. Right? So, forget about these young men who just studied some books and watched some sheikhs and they became scholars. Wallahi, I'm speaking and I'm ashamed of myself that I know nothing. I'm just trying to just open the doors for you and for myself. We know nothing. We don't know anything. Wallahi, one word, sometimes some basic words, we need to go and review what they mean in Arabic. So forget about these people and take the knowledge from the right place. These are the scholars that Muslims agree upon. These are the vast majority of the Muslim Ummah, are these. The vast majority. So this is why he said, rahimahullah, تكفيك علما إن تريد أن تكتفي لأنها بزبدة العلم بزبدة الفن تفي. So what is علم التوحيد? علم التوحيد, write down the definition, is the science علم يقتدر به على إثبات العقائد الدينية المكتسبة من أدلتها اليقينية. It's a science with which or through which you can prove the religious creeds that are based on certain proofs. It's a science through which you can prove the religious beliefs or creeds based on certain proofs. Adilla yaqiniya, certainty, there's no doubt. Certain proofs. And what does the certain proofs, you can put between parentheses, means logical and mutawatir religious proofs. So two proofs. The certain proofs are how many times, guys? The certain proofs, how many times? That we're talking about. How many times? Two. Proofs from our religion, our mutawatir texts, if you like, let me make it more precise. What did I say? The logical and what? What did I say? Huh? Let's write the mutawatir religious texts. Means, let's say Islamic, forget about, let's say the Islamic mutawatir texts. Did you get that? So what are the two types of certain proofs that we can use to prove the belief, the creeds that we believe in? Two, logical and the mutawatir or Islamic mutawatir texts. That's what I told you. Aql and naql. Write it down. Aql and naql. Naql means transmission. We say naql salti, oral transmission. Naql salti of the Quran, oral transmission. So aql and naql. In other words, adilla. Adilla means what? Proofs. Adilla aqliya and adilla naqliya. Write it down. So al-adilla al-yaqiniya. Yaqiniya means certain proofs. Learn these words. These are basic words, guys. Yaqeen. You know yaqeen. Yaqeen means what? Certain. Al-adilla al-yaqiniya naw'an. Al-adilla al-yaqiniya naw'an. The certain proofs, the proofs that give you certainty, that has no doubt. What are they? Two types. Adillatun aqliya, from the mind, mental, logical. Do you say reasonable also? Logical, reasonable, mental proofs. And naqliya, which means what? Naqliya mutawatir. The mutawatir Islamic texts. Did you get that? Now, what is the science of Tawheed is about? Is about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is about the Creator. Is about the Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala and His attributes and what's related to that. His prophets, His books, all of that. What is the benefit? The benefit of this science is what? Is to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to win the eternal happiness. What is the benefit of this science, of learning this science? Huh? What is it? To know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to know Him truly, with His attributes, with His actions. And consequently, when you know Him, you will worship Him. And when you worship Him, you will reach the eternal happiness. That's the purpose of studying this. That is the general purpose. The specific purpose, I told you, to remove any doubts, to have more certainty, to be able to help others. Write it down so that you remember why you need to study this. Remove any doubts that you might have or face in the future or currently. Strengthen your iman and your belief and add more certainty to what you have and help others. And help others who are lost or who have doubts. لأنها بزبدة الفن. زبدة literally means butter. They make yogurt from milk, but from milk they make ghee. You know the ghee? It's like butter, right? Butter. Zubda is the cream of the cream, right? Zubda is the cream of the, is like the cream of the thing, is the summary. Okay? They get opposite. Opposite. They get. We call it qishta. Qishta. Qishta is the cream. Okay? Qishta is the cream. So they get the qishta from the milk. If you just boil the milk, what happens on the surface of the milk? That's the qishta. Okay, the milk. If you boil it with certain things, on top, you with the spoon, take the cup. That's qishta. That is what? That is what? Qishta. Qishta. That is cream. That's the most delicious, right? And that one, the qishta itself, when they shake it in a certain way, they take the ghee from it. The point is, I'm talking about the milk one. Listen, the word zubda. Zubda, you can translate it as it's butter or ghee. Okay? How they get it? Well, how do you use this word? It's like the summary of the summary. They do the cream from the milk and they get the zubda from the cream. You understand? That's zubda. Alhamdulillah.